Okay, let's kick things off. Firstly, I just wanted to say good afternoon to everyone and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name's Lily Williams and I'm Partnerships Manager at BGL. Today, I'm joined by the talented Jackson, Head of Sales at FuseWorks, and the wonderful Kajal, Business Development Manager at BGL in our New Zealand team. Today, we'll be showcasing a short demo to you all of CAS 360 and how the FuseSign integration works within that platform. So a bit of background on FuseSign. It is the accountant's choice for digital signing made by accountants for accountants with highly customizable features and seamless integration with industry apps. FuseSign helps you streamline your workflows, boost efficiency, and of course, keep costs down. The intuitive platform makes signing easy for both you and your clients, while their secure environment ensures peace of mind. With FuseSign, your team is happier, focusing on what really matters, which is obviously your clients. Before we do get started today, I'll cover some general housekeeping. Today's session will be recorded, so if you do miss anything or you need to jump off early, you will receive a link after the webinar to rewatch it at a later date. And this recording will also be posted on our YouTube channel. We will have the Q&A function available. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pop them in there. We can answer the questions as we go and do a bit of a Q&A session towards the end as well. So Kajal, I'll hand it over to you to kick things off.
Awesome. Thank you, Lily. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kajal. I'm the Business Development Manager at BGL. I'm in the NZ team, as Lily mentioned. And thanks for joining us today for Accelerate Your Workflow with BGL and FuseSign integrations. So just before we kick start, I will be launching a poll. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to basically answer those questions, just so it just gives us an idea of, a few things that you guys are interested in for us to cater for that today during the webinar. As mentioned today, I will be showcasing CAS 360. So I know there's a few of us who are new to CAS 360, so I'll give you a bit of a spiel. So basically, CAS 360 is a cloud-based accounting software that integrates directly with New Zealand's Companies Office and helps your firm essentially manage your company's trust and your AML and CDD workflow. Awesome. So it looks like we're here for the right things. A lot of people interested in the digital signing side of stuff. I will be showcasing how when documents are sent out of CAS 360 using our digital signing partner FuseSign and how that basically looks like on a client perspective. So basically, without further ado, I will be heading into the demo. Awesome. So when you enter CAS 360, you'll basically be able to see the company screen, also known as your home page. So firstly, we're going to start off by talking to you about the smart alerts. So we've got 3 different types of smart alerts. So basically, they consist of the annual returns, health check, and compliance. So firstly, I'll take you through the annual returns alert. So basically, you see a calendar icon that changes in color. So it's basically different statuses of your annual returns. And when you click on the question mark next to alerts, you'll basically see what they actually mean. And we'll go ahead and view an example. So today we will be using CAS 360 001 Limited as our example. So when I click onto the alert, you can see that an annual return is due. And it's basically essentially saying the end of this month on the 30th of June. So you've got 2 options. We've got the return screen on the navigation panel on your left-hand side, which you can see over here, or you can go straight from the home screen into your annual returns. So basically, you will be able to view that for each of your clients as well. So the second alert that we have is our most unique alert for CAS 360, which is called Health Check. So what that essentially means is when the heart icon lights up to red, basically means that there's discrepancies within your CAS360 database and your company's office database. And what we'll do later on is actually show you what that comparison report looks like. So you can actually see which different categories any mismatches are found, because essentially we do use your RealMe login details to upload your authorized companies onto your CAS360 account. So you'll be able to see that. So a really good example of this right now is, let's say like a director has gone into company's office, made a change, like let's say an address change, hasn't notified you. There's kind of no way to gauge that information. But with CAS360, you get those live checks. So what we'll do here is we'll go back to our test client here. So CAS360 001 Limited. We've done a check this morning. We found about 8 mismatches, and then it tells you which category and the total number of mismatches found. So currently what you can actually see is that there's 8 mismatches found. Again, this is a bit of an extremist example because we are using our test account. So therefore you are able to see that there. So our third alert is our compliance alert. So basically with the compliance alert, again, it's a bit of an ID icon. Different colors, again, represent different type of documents or statuses as well. So currently, if it is the blue, light up triggered for the compliance document required. So basically what that means is there will be some information that you've started to complete with our CDD, AML and CDD workflow that you might be missing out. So that what we do is we basically just chip into that and help you, again, start off from where you've actually left off the workflow. And then you've got your compliance review, which is quite handy because there is a date during your AML and CDD workflow where you will trigger, let's say if you want to check the compliance for this particular client every year or every 2 years, based on the level of CDD that's required, you can plug in that date, and 30 days prior, CAS360 will pick that up, trigger, so you can have about a month's time to gather all your relevant information and then start the process again. Another really favorite one of mine is the contact identity document expiry, because right now at your firm, you will be managing, multiple Excel spreadsheets or Word documents and stuff like that. But this alert basically helps you gauge any documents that are expired. So let's say, for example, like an NZ driver's license or whatnot, you are able to actually get that during your alert and go straight into your CDD and upload those relevant details. And lastly, we've got our compliance alert. So that would be basically like a compliance document and a document expiry. So a couple of compliance documents that are required, you'll get that basically orange trigger if there's multiple things within that list that we just went through. So we'll go and click on a few. So you can see here, there's a compliance review overdue. You can go straight into the compliance screen from the home screen. So it's quite user-friendly in terms of you actually going and seeing an overview of all your clients. Right now, a lot of people on the call probably thinking like, Kajal, I'm not going to click on each alert. That's all good, because what we'll do here is we'll click on an arrow that basically goes to advanced filters. So within your advanced filters, you can see all your companies here, but also if you just click on the plus under each alert, you will be able to see how each status that we went through has a tally of the total number of companies. So you can simply basically just, click on them, and you can see that we've got a total of 3 that's due currently. So you can actually, if you have like a larger client base, you can actually see that through the advanced filters. Same thing with your AML alert, and then followed by health check, which gives you like a total of all the clients or companies you manage within your client alert once you click on. So we currently have 15 here. Another really handy kind of feature is labels. So right now with labels, you can always customize or cater to your clientele. So let's say if there's particular partners or within your firm, or even senior accountants that like to be across each firm, you are able to put their names down next to that clientele, which basically differentiates them And then again, basically click on this. So this is all the clients or companies that I manage. And I'll basically, since there's unlimited users within CAS 360, you can just favorite the screen by hitting that star icon. So every time you log in, you will be able to see this within your home screen, which is also known as your company screen as well. So that's like our smart alerts and our labels done in a nutshell. Now what we'll do is we'll go into our return screen. Awesome. So right now you have the option to go filter the month and the year. So right now we've switched on to June. So I will just change the month here. And then also the statuses that were in the company screen do flow on to your annual returns filters as well. And the statuses you can see here. Alongside your labels too. So it's really important that you use labels towards your advantage because they come through multiple screens such as companies, your return screen, and also your trust as well. But you can then extrapolate a lot of reports out of CAS 360 that helps you if you want to differentiate your clientele or put them into little categories or groups. It's real easy to pull through reports from there. So you do have the option to do a bulk annual returns. Today's example, we will be taking you through one of them here. So we're using CAS 360-001 Limited as mentioned before. So you can see it's failed its comparison report. So prior for you to actually do your, your annual returns, you can see that the failed report also comes here. But instead of going and clicking onto the actual category or where the mismatch is found, what we can do is we can click on options and we can export a comparison report. So when we actually export a comparison report, it gives you a side-by-side kind of guideline on how to see your CAS 360 data and your company's office database. So right now you can see that I just triggered or clicked on this report and generated it. So you can see that on the 4th of June at 12:13, we can see the update. So anything in white is basically all matched to CAS 360 in company's office. Anything in red, like you can see highlighted, shows you where the mismatches and discrepancies are found, which is really neat when you're actually going to file your annual returns because it gives you a bit of a sense of what's actually happening within your client base prior to you sending it through. So we'll click on to prepare document. And on the left-hand side, you'll always see the workflow and a bit of a description. And then in the middle, you'll see the supporting document. So whenever a document is triggered onto a dotted line, you can basically see the annual returns by clicking on the button by previewing the document. And what you can see here is the annual return summary, which you can actually preview prior to sending it out to your client. And then what you could also do is, since we've got a extensive shareholder listing, you can also actually send that out as well. Again, you have the options. You don't have to. I can just simply turn the toggle from yes to no. And anything with a pen icon, you will be able to send using our electronic signing option that you can click here. This is where our signing provider FuseSign comes about, and you can see that we've got this already set up as our default in our test account. So we'll be using FuseSign for our example, and we'll click on to save. So we will be getting this annual return signed. You also have options here to flag a document to be reviewed. So internally right now, if you have like a intern or someone that's new to the team and you'd like it to be reviewed by your partner or senior accountant, you can just simply click on to yes, plug in their name, and you'll be able to basically click on their name. It will be sent for them to review prior to actually sending it to the client. So there's a few checks that you can do prior to sending it out. Then you've got your emailing options. So you have different type of templates that you can plug through if there's some type of terminology. You can add your corporate logos and different things like that prior to sending it out. And what we'll do here is we'll just click on to send all. And basically, I'll just click on to no there and just click on to send all. So right now here in the subject line, I can basically edit anything I want to, even in the header. And when I scroll down, this client's first name will be automated and plugged through. Once we send it out, I'll show you that example. And then also you can add your corporate logo where BGL is plugged in. So let's go ahead and send this off to the client. So this is being sent by your firm to your client via CAS 360 using FuseSign as the digital signing partner. So we'll let that brew for a bit and we'll basically send that out. So once it's actually sent through, you can also see that in your notifications when anything has actually been sent or received or signed. So it's a really good option that you can see within. And what we'll do here is we'll just refresh this. And you can see here that I've updated the subject line, also the header as well. So I've personalized it and the client first name has dropped in, as we said, through automation. And this is basically what your client is going to receive as an email with their corporate logo once all set up. So then I'll just click on to review document, and this takes me straight to the FuseSign portal, and I'll review the document by clicking on review document. And for those of you who are familiar or know a bit about FuseSign, you'll be familiar with this process or what this portal looks like. For those of you who aren't, this is actually what your client will receive. So during an annual return, they'll just basically scroll down, check if all the information is correct on their end. If there is a change they would like to make, there is an option for them to reject this document and write the reason for rejection. That also gets plugged into CAS 360 with the reasoning of why this document was rejected. For the actual example here today, we will be clicking the start signing because it looks all fine to me. You have two options. You can either type or draw. In this example, I'm just going to type that through and click on to sign. Now it says that the bundle has been completed and you can go back to your CAS 360. So now we'll head on to CAS 360 and what we'll do is we'll go to our document screen. So within your document screen, this is all the documents that you send out of CAS 360, but it also comes back using a different status, especially with FuseSign. So what you can see here is we've done an annual return for this particular client. So right now the status says FuseSign sent to client on the 4th of June. So right now, just giving it a couple of minutes, once we kind of give it a bit of a refresh, it will say FuseSign signed by client and then today's date. So with the integration, it's quite neat on how it actually works because it comes back into CAS 360 and it allows you to give you that kind of status. So it's something similar like here. So if you signed by client and today's date, so that's what you would see, and you simply just hit on the lodge button, and any type of options you can click the attachment. So during the attachment, you can actually see which documents were signed by FuseSign, but you can also see if it were to be rejected, you would be able to see the reason for rejection as well, which is very important because that back and forth with your client, you also get that kind of feedback and instantly you can make those changes within CAS 360 and you can actually go ahead from there. So that kind of wraps us up on the CAS 360 side of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will hand it over to Jackson.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kajal. And there's a few things, I'm just sharing my screen here. There's a few things in particular that I absolutely love about our integration with CAS. Firstly, what I love that CAS has done in terms of how they've integrated FuseSign is some of the concern is that, like you said, if we do have junior staff members or interns that might be preparing these, CAS doesn't allow you to send documents for digital signing that aren't legally allowed to be digitally signed. So it's kind of like no room for error when it comes to that side of things, which is just clever. Takes a lot of time from a development perspective, but goes a long way in terms of human error. Also, like knowing where people need to sign automatically on those documents. So what I'll go through is, we don't know every document coming in. So we do have that process of tagging the documents up with who needs to sign where. But BGL knows the document types, it knows the relationship, and it automatically nominates who needs to sign where in the document, which again, removes any friction, removes human error, and speeds up the whole process, which I think is great. And just how quickly the platforms work in sync. So that was a great overview. I always love seeing that integration, even though I see it so often. What we want to do as well is, of course, as Lily mentioned, so we come from a background of working in our own chartered accounting practice here in Brisbane. We now support well over 1,800 accounting practices across Australia and New Zealand. I saw there are a few clients on the line, which is awesome, but a huge amount in that poll, it looks like, are investigating digital signing as an option for their business. So a big thing for us is, of course, having a highly integrated solution so that we integrate with things like CAS 360, as we've just seen, for all those efficiency gains. But of course, there is a huge amount of need for sending a lot of other ad hoc documents for signing throughout the day as well. So we want to also show you through how to use FuseSign standalone, or some of the value in that. I think the big thing here is getting the value in terms of having a really consistent signing experience for your clients. So no matter what's leaving your office, if it's able to be digitally signed, they're getting the same experience every time. The more familiar they get, the faster documents are signed, the faster things come back, the faster we can move on with the next part of the process or the next task in our task list. So this is our FuseSign environment. I'm going to give you a very sort of brief overview of what it looks like to prepare a pack, similar to what Kajal went through in terms of the signing experience, and then what happens when those documents come back to us. And I'll mention a couple of other great little integrations that we've got on offer as well as we go. So in FuseSign, it's really about, as Lily mentioned at the start, being highly customizable, but also it's kind of about standardizing that approach. So as a business, we can customize our FuseSign setup. So it doesn't matter who's coming in here to prepare these packs, the client's getting the same experience every single time. So where they live 99% of the time are in these top 4 tabs here. We'll kind of work our way down as we go, but we're currently in that new bundle tab. So an example of some of that standardization is saying, well, as a business, same with our CAS emails, we've probably got some standard wording that we want to use, or some language that we like to use as a business. So the team have the option to come through and to have these set up. So all they're doing is pulling through those email templates, all still fully editable if we need to, but ideally we've got 90+% of what we need in this email template ready to go, so we can move on with our process. Tied in with that is having things like a due date automatically set. So again, as a business, we might say 14 days after we send some documents out, we want automatic reminders going the day before that due date and then weekly after that due date. So whether they are CAS packs or FuseSign Direct, we've got automatic reminders humming in the background. So if you are manually reminding clients that there are documents outstanding, better use of your time, I'm sure. Let FuseSign handle that part of the process. As we come down, we can send to as many recipients as we like, and we can really send very, very large packs of documents. We don't really have clients that have issues with the amount of documents they're including in our packs, and each document type can be up to 20 megabytes. So we can handle really large groups and really large packs of documents as we need to. So for this example, I'll use a family group just to show you a little bit more of that functionality that we have on offer as well. Now, in terms of pulling through the contact data, we have a lot of different options here. First one being that we integrate with, I'm going to change my one here so I can use my mobile, and I'm going to try and multitask as I do this. We have a lot of different options in terms of how we integrate with things like Zero Practice Manager, APS Contacts Plus, MYOB for your contact data. So if you are using one of the 3, it means that we can always be looking at your single source of truth to pull through contact data into FuseSign. And that way we're not managing multiple databases, similar to how the BGL team handle it. So I'm pulling through things like name, email, mobile number in that process. Now we can come through and grab our documents. So I'm just going to use a few pretty simple documents here that we might want to send out for signing. Now we can shuffle these as well. So if we find that the documents don't come in the order that we want them to, and of course the way that we present them here is the way that we want to present them to our clients. So we might say cover letter, checklist, tax return in this example. Now, one of my favorite features with FuseSign, and one that stands out quite heavily amongst other platforms out there, is giving you the ability to nominate in the group who is able to view, sign, but most importantly, not view each document within this pack. So what we don't want you having to do is to say, well, you know, mum and dad need these documents, we'll send them out. And then, oh, the child needs this document, but we need mum and dad to see this. So then we'll send a separate pack out. It's not a great use of time for your team, and it's not a great experience for your client. So in FuseSign, you can bring in all of your documents, and you can simply come through and nominate to say, well, mum and dad and child need to view the first document. The checklist is really only relevant to mum and dad, and we want the child to sign their tax return, but we might want them to view that tax return, so they don't need to action it, but we just want them to run their eye over it. So anything else left to none for Kyan in this example means that he won't see that document as a part of his pack. So we keep the privacy, but we keep the experience nice and seamless for both sides. Our final step here is going through and nominating where we need people to sign. So again, Kaz does such a great job because they know those documents and they know where people need to sign. So this part's kind of handled for us. So FuseSign is really handling everything else. So we have a lot of different options in terms of what sort of inputs or stamps we might want. So we might say for this example, we have standard signatures, signing dates to be populated, same with Amelia here. But we might also say, well, we do need Amelia to update some information, give us a change of address, whatever it might be. So we can put in things like text fields and paragraphs and so on. We can even be a little bit cheeky and say, well, we know that we definitely need this, and Amelia is prone to skipping things if we don't force her to do it. So we can make certain fields mandatory, and we can even go through and put in things like a default value. So if we're asking for a change of address or confirming an address, we can go through and populate this for Amelia, but giving her the option to update that if it's incorrect or it's been changed since. So there's a lot of nifty little things that we can do through here. I'm just going to make myself a signer on this one to show you as well. So that's more of the manual process that we follow. When it comes to a lot of the other standardized documents that we do have, so, for ELDs, for example, or some checklists and a few other things, we know that signatures are populating in the same place, dates are populating in the same place every time. So what we can do for the team, again, to standardize this approach is to come through and tag up to say, well, this is where the signatures and the dates belong. And we can then save that as a template. So the next time we come in, I know that there's a template in here for me ready to go. So I can select, confirm I've got the correct signers, and just apply that template ready for me to sign. Still adjustable if we need to make any changes here, we can. But again, standardize it, reduce human error, and we're ready to send it out. So once we're done, we can come through and send it away. A big thing for us as well is giving the option for clients to be able to send documents with a type of two-factor authentication. A big thing here is that your clients, as you saw with Kajol's example, we don't need a username and password. We don't need an account set up. It's fully transactional. But of course, a lot of the documents that we're sending are sensitive, and we need to make sure that we have a two-factor authentication option. So it works the same way as it does with the banks or with your Facebook, your Amazon account. Pretty much everything nowadays is we send a code to their phone, which allows them to go through and authenticate with that second step before they go through and view their documents. And I'll show you that in my example. And that's the good thing about pulling through that cell number or that mobile number, is having the option to use that two-factor. We can also use an email to verify. So if we don't have the mobile number, we've got a second option. Or if we're not too concerned about the documents we're sending and we want to keep this simple, we might use no two-factor at all and just keep it really transactional, like we did with Kajol's example. Get it out, get it signed, get it back. And that's on a per recipient basis as well. So we might say for Kyan, we're happy to give no 2FA for his documents. And the final thing is the ability as well to nominate an SMS notification. So if we've already got that detail and that data, it's kind of like, how else can we use it? So that way, we're not only going to email Kyan, myself, and Amelia, but we're also going to send text messages. So we can sign on any device, mobile, tablet, iPad, doesn't matter. And what we find is, of course, if we give more option, it's going to be signed significantly faster, returned faster using that. So especially if you have rural clients, agriculture clients, and they're out on the farm, they're not sitting in front of their laptop all day like we are, that's a great option to get their documents signed and give them a good way to do that. So we'll send this away. Similar to what Kajol mentioned as well, this is all branded, colored logo to your firm. So it's very much sort of white label to make sure that it fits your look and feel. And it's a lot more of a personal approach when we send it away to our clients. So we can send that off. Now, before we jump into that signing experience from the client's end, where FuseSign takes us is into our active dashboard. And for anyone that's not using digital signing, this is a godsend, because this is then your list of absolutely everything that we have out for signing across the whole team. My subjects are terrible because it's all demo data, but the subject of what we've sent out and the recipients that are all waiting here as well. And this is all then color coded to whether they've actioned anything yet, whether they haven't, have they signed, are we waiting on others? And we get a really quick snapshot of where everything's sitting in that process. So that is a game changer if you're not using anything at the moment. Now, in terms of the client experience, it's all good and well if we can use it internally, but if the clients can't use it, it's kind of pointless. And this is very similar to what we've gone through with CAS. And that's the whole idea, is we want a really consistent sign-in experience across everything we're sending out. So whether it is a CAS bundle, if you're using FYI, whether it's coming from FYI or anything else, we want to make sure that we've got a really seamless experience when it gets to the client's end. If we have asked them to use that two-factor, this is their process. They come through and they request that code. I did a demo the other day and my phone was in the other room, so I had to run off a webinar to go and grab it. So I've made sure I've got that with me today, which is much more handy. And we can go through and pop in that code. So even if this is the very first time that I'd use FuseSign, my process is exactly the same as what we've just seen. We can see which documents we're accessing and what ones we're signing. And we're really just at this point following the bouncing ball. So we don't give the client too much option in terms of what they can do in here. The only real button they've got to click, if this is a view-only document, is to click next. When they get into their documents, they now have the option, as we saw before, to sign or reject. If they reject, we're forced to give a reason why. And so we notify you with that email to say, hey, Jackson's rejected this document. This is what he said. And as Cardinal mentioned, it's about trying to reduce that friction between us and the client. So if there is anything that needs to be updated, hopefully we've got the right information and we can do that and resend that document out. If we're happy with it, we can come through and sign, populate our details there, and then move on. Same process again. If we're happy to sign, we're brought into our signing action. And all we're doing here is repopulating to say, yes, we're happy to apply that signature on that document there. And then we're done. So we also then make it incredibly obvious that they've completed their packs. So, hey, you're all done. You can close this window and jump out. If there is anything outstanding for them, and again, excuse my demo data, but we would have a list from maybe they were away a couple of weeks earlier and they missed something. It'll have the subject of the email that you'd sent them across with that link to go through and to click into the next one and keep going. So keep that moving and keep things signed off and done. We jump back into FuseSign. So client experience is done. They've done what we need. We can come back through to FuseSign. We can see on our active list now that I am green. So everything that I've done is complete and we might be waiting on some others. Now, once they have signed all of their documents, it then automatically pushes into complete. We will notify you internally at the firm to let you know that, hey, all those documents for the annual accounts package has been signed. And we can go away and take that next step. So file the documents away, prepare to lodge, depending on what we're sending. We will also automatically notify the client. So you don't need to let them know or to send them their signed documents. We will do that for you. And just to give you a brief idea of what that looks like, both for you and for them, we bring this, depending on how many documents there are, into a zip. We add the word or the wording here as well to say that that's signed, so we can differentiate between ours and theirs. And we can also then come through and see, this is one from the other day, but we can see we've got the signatures, the dates, and most importantly, that digital certificate that verifies that signature. And that's what, of course, Companies House, the banks are all looking for to verify a digital signature. Now, there's about 100 other things that I could spend time on today, which I won't. There will be an opportunity if you'd like to find out a bit more about FuseSign and to test it out for yourself to do that. We've got some great offers on for our CAS firms today. But Lily, I think that gives a pretty good overview of everything FuseSign. We might run that poll now as well. So, and I know we've got a couple of questions here. So just while we're on that, Lily, are you happy if I run this now?
Yeah, sure. Definitely happy
Yep.
for you to run the poll and then we can jump into some questions. So if you do have any, pop in the Q&A and we can answer for you now.
Awesome. Yeah. So look, as I mentioned, coming up to the end of financial year in Australia, we're wanting to extend to our firms on our audience today to get a couple of special deals that we've got on. So you can try it out. And one of the questions that came through was, can you test this out with CAS 360 in your trial? Yes, you can. You can go through and get a free trial. So all you need is name and email with FuseSign. You can plug it into CAS and get that full experience like what Kajal showed us today. So absolutely try before you buy.
There is a question here. I will read it out. So question is, can you use FuseSign for the setup of a new company, or do you need a physical signature?
Kajal, that might be better for you on that one.
Yeah, for sure. So you can do you have to do a name reservation in CAS 360 before you do a company registration. So once there is a pen icon next to those particular documents, since we have that API with Companies Office, you can actually use FuseSign as one of our signing partners to actually process that. So it should go through. But those are the steps that you need to do if you want to do a company registration within CAS 360.
Great question. I had another one here as well, just saying, can FuseSign send to shared email addresses, or do clients need a separate email? No, FuseSign, can send to shared email addresses. The big thing that we need to know there is that we need to make sure that we do have a unique point of ID per recipient signing. So if Lily and I share an email address, we can't tell who signed on behalf of who. But if we have that cell phone number or that mobile number, it means that that then acts as our unique point of ID. So we can share an email, we have our own numbers, use that two-factor authentication, and that's perfectly appropriate. So yes, clients do not need to set up a separate email.